Imagine two people opening the same grocery app at the same time. Same store, same carton of eggs, same jar of peanut butter. One person sees one price, the other sees a higher one. That sounds like the obvious definition of surveillance pricing. The app knows who you are, decides you can tolerate a little more pain, and quietly moves the number. But that is exactly where this story gets interesting. Different people can see different prices for very different reasons. And if we blur those reasons together, we miss the bigger change happening underneath. For most of modern retail, a price tag was a public fact. You could look at it. The person next to you could look at it. Unless one of you had a coupon, you knew you were basically being offered the same deal. Online, the price tag can behave more like software. It can change, it can be tested. And in some systems, it can respond to information about the person looking at it. So the real question is not, are companies secretly charging everyone the maximum they will pay? There is not enough evidence to say that. The better question is, could companies use what they know about you to help decide how much you should pay? And the answer is increasingly yes. First, we need to separate four things that are often thrown into the same bucket. Dynamic pricing is the familiar one. A price changes because conditions change, maybe time, demand, inventory, or location. The system does not necessarily need to know you personally. Then there are randomized pricing experiments. A company can divide shoppers into test groups and show different groups different prices just to measure what happens. Think of it as an A/B test, except the button color has been replaced by the price. That can feel unfair. But random assignment is not the same thing as deciding that you, specifically, should pay more because of your personal data. Personalized pricing crosses that line. Information connected to a particular consumer or device becomes part of the pricing decision. And surveillance pricing is the term regulators increasingly use when personal or behavioral data, things like location, browsing activity, purchase history, demographics, or inferred characteristics, can help target an individualized price or offer. That distinction matters because the technology behind this is no longer theoretical. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission ordered 8 pricing and consulting companies to explain how their systems used consumer data and algorithms. In early 2025, FTC staff released initial findings from documents supplied by several of those firms. The staff found that pricing intermediaries could draw on surprisingly granular information: precise location, shopping history, browser activity, demographics, and even behaviors such as what someone leaves in an online cart. Those systems could help retailers tailor prices, promotions, or which products a consumer is shown. And the intermediaries examined by the FTC worked with at least 250 clients across industries, including groceries and apparel. That does not mean 250 companies were all secretly giving every shopper a personal price. The FTC did not say that. The published findings also came with an important limitation. Because much of the company information was confidential, the FTC used hypothetical examples when explaining how surveillance pricing could work. 2 commissioners dissented from releasing the early findings, arguing that the study was incomplete and had not yet established definitive effects on actual prices. That disagreement matters. The strongest version of this story is not case closed. It is that the infrastructure for highly individualized pricing exists. Businesses have access to increasingly detailed consumer signals, and regulators still have major questions about how far those systems are actually being used. Then, in late 2025, Instacart gave everyone a concrete example of why those questions matter. Consumer Reports, Groundwork Collaborative, and More Perfect Union organized an experiment involving 437 shoppers in 4 cities. Participants looked at the same grocery items from the same store locations at roughly the same time. For nearly 3/4 of the items tested, shoppers were shown more than one price. Among items whose prices varied, the average gap between the highest and lowest observed price was about 13%. Some differences reached 23%. That sounds like the smoking gun. It was not. Instacart acknowledged that some retail partners had been running item price tests using its Oversight technology. But the company said shoppers were assigned randomly to test groups, and that those tests did not use personal data, demographics, individual shopping behavior, supply or demand. The price differences were real. The experiment was real. But those particular differences were not by themselves proof of surveillance pricing. In December 2025, Instacart ended all item price tests on its platform. The company said two families shopping for the same items at the same time from the same store location would now see the same item prices. Retailers could still vary prices between store locations, and promotions, discounts, loyalty integrations, and other marketing incentives would continue. So why did regulators keep asking questions? Because price experimentation shows how easily a digital platform can make the price itself part of the experiment. And when pricing tools, consumer profiles, automated decision-making, and behavioral data can exist in the same digital marketplace, regulators want to know exactly what information is allowed to influence the number a shopper sees. New York chose disclosure. Its Algorithmic Pricing Disclosure Act took effect in November 2025. When a company uses personalized algorithmic pricing based on a consumer's personal data, the law requires a clear notice near the price saying the price was set by an algorithm using personal data. In January 2026, New York's Attorney General demanded information from Instacart about its pricing tools, experiments, data use, and compliance with that law. California took another route. In January 2026, its Attorney General launched an investigative sweep asking prominent retail, grocery, and hotel businesses how they use shopping history, browsing history, location, demographics, inferred information, and other data in pricing. The state said unexpected uses of personal information for individualized prices could raise issues under California's privacy law. Maryland went further in grocery pricing. In April 2026, the state enacted restrictions aimed at preventing food retailers and third-party delivery services from using personal data and certain dynamic pricing practices to set higher individualized grocery prices. And in July 2026, New Jersey signed its Fair Price Protection Act, restricting the use of shoppers' personal data to charge different prices for identical groceries and other covered food products. Notice what is happening. One state says, "Tell the shopper." Another says, "Show us what your system is doing." Others say, "For certain products, do not use personal data this way at all." That is not proof that every retailer is already doing the worst thing regulators fear. The real change is subtler. Digital commerce can turn a price from a public number into a private output. If a store has one sign on one shelf, shoppers can compare it. If every phone can generate its own offer, comparison gets harder, especially when you cannot see the inputs that produced your number. And companies do not need to calculate some perfect secret number labeled "the most this person will pay" for personalized pricing to matter. Even rough segmentation can be useful. One group may need a discount before buying. Another may buy without it. The more signals a system can use, the narrower those groups can become. That can produce consumer benefits too. Personalized offers can mean useful coupons, loyalty rewards, or discounts for people who might otherwise walk away. The problem is not that every use of data automatically raises your price. The problem is opacity. When similar technology can be used to give one shopper a discount, test another shopper's price sensitivity, or potentially personalize what someone pays, it becomes difficult for the consumer to know what kind of pricing system they are actually inside. So if you spot two different prices online, do not immediately assume you caught a company surveilling you. It could be location, timing, a store-level markup, a promotion, a loyalty benefit, or a randomized experiment. But the opposite assumption, that the price has nothing to do with data about you, is becoming harder to make too. The old price tag answered one simple question: what does this cost? The new price tag may be answering a different one: what should this cost for this shopper right now? And that is why surveillance pricing matters. Not because we can prove every company already knows the exact maximum you will pay, but because the systems that collect data, predict behavior, test prices, and personalize digital experiences are increasingly capable of meeting at the checkout screen. For consumers, the important question may soon be less about whether a price changed, and more about why it changed for you. If you want more stories about the hidden systems shaping what you spend, subscribe to Costly by Design.